If you flew a modern thermal drone over the Great Plains in the year 1600, you probably would not see anything at all. Imagine this sophisticated piece of technology with sensors capable of detecting the slightest temperature difference, soaring silently across a vast, empty landscape. The drone's operator would see only the undulating waves of grass and the occasional heat signature of a wandering buffalo herd, never once suspecting that entire communities were thriving right below. This incredible invisibility leads us to a profound architectural secret, a technique that allowed people to vanish into the very earth they lived on. We must ask why Native Americans covered their substantial log cabins in 3 feet of dirt, because the answer reveals a strategy that was not just for insulation, but for a brilliant and highly effective form of stealth. While we typically think of insulation as the fluffy pink fiberglass packed into our modern walls, these ingenious builders utilized the very ground beneath their feet, making the earth itself their primary building material and their ultimate camouflage. The construction of an earth lodge was a monumental undertaking, a testament to communal effort and a deep understanding of natural engineering principles. The process began with the erection of a heavy timber framework, using sturdy cottonwood posts to create the foundational skeleton that would support immense weight. Following this robust core, a dense lattice of flexible willow branches was meticulously woven between the larger posts, forming an intricate, strong mesh. Over this woven layer, thick mats of dry prairie grass were carefully applied, adding a crucial layer of natural insulation and creating a bed for the final, most important component. Finally, the entire structure was covered with an incredibly thick layer of soil and sod, often reaching 3 feet deep, which was packed down to create a dense, protective, and living shell. This resulted in a dwelling of astonishing weight and density, standing in stark contrast to a flimsy modern tent or a thin-walled wooden shack that offers minimal protection. When we compare a contemporary house to one of these ancient earth lodges, the fundamental differences in their philosophies become strikingly clear. A typical modern home is in a constant battle with the outside environment, perpetually pumping air conditioning to fight the summer heat or blasting a furnace to combat the winter cold. This continuous energy-intensive struggle creates a noisy mechanical bubble that separates us from the natural world, demanding constant resources to maintain its artificial climate. The Earth Lodge, conversely, was masterfully engineered to work in perfect harmony with its surroundings, leveraging natural environmental cycles rather than fighting against them. The sheer thickness of its earthen walls created an almost impenetrable physical barrier, effectively shielding the interior from howling winds, driving rain, and extreme temperature swings, providing a quiet and stable sanctuary. This ancient building method introduces us to the crucial distinction between thermal mass and what we understand today as conventional insulation. Imagine a dense brick or a large stone, which we can accurately label as storage because it has the incredible capacity to slowly absorb and hold thermal energy. Now picture a roll of lightweight fiberglass, which we would label as a barrier, because its main purpose is to simply slow down the transfer of heat. While our modern construction methods are overwhelmingly focused on creating these barriers, the ancient builders of the plains were ingeniously constructing massive thermal batteries. You might think this sophisticated design is only about keeping the intense summer heat out, but the dirt is actually performing a much smarter and more dynamic function than just blocking the sun. It is essentially absorbing that solar energy like a giant battery, storing the intense heat within the heavy earthen walls for later use. To truly appreciate this, visualize a split-screen comparison showing a simple canvas tent next to the robust Earth Lodge under the relentless midday sun. As sunlight strikes the thin canvas, its interior immediately spikes red hot, transforming into an unbearable oven with no defense against the thermal assault. However, when that same intense sunlight hits the thick earthen surface of the lodge, the heat effectively stops at the exterior, unable to penetrate the dense layers. The massive dirt structure acts as a giant heat sink, slowly and deliberately absorbing the solar radiation throughout the entire day, preventing the intense heat from ever reaching the comfortable interior living space. This remarkable effect is governed by a crucial principle known as time lag, which can be visualized with a simple graph showing temperature over a 24-hour cycle. Imagine a fluctuating sine wave representing the outside temperature, peaking during the hot day and dipping low during the cold night. Now see a second, remarkably flattened line representing the interior temperature of the Earth Lodge, demonstrating its incredible stability against those wild external swings. As the sun finally sets and the outside air begins to cool dramatically, the tremendous amount of heat that was slowly stored within the earthen walls all day finally reaches the inside. This stored energy then gently radiates inward, naturally warming the house throughout the entire chilly night without requiring a single piece of firewood to be burned for warmth. This brings us back to our thermal drone, flying high above the darkened plains, allowing us to fully understand why these structures remain so perfectly hidden. Because the exterior surface of the dirt lodge has spent the day absorbing heat, its temperature is almost identical to that of the surrounding ground. The drone's sensitive instruments, searching for the sharp thermal contrast of a warm building against the cool night landscape, would find absolutely nothing. This creates an astonishing invisibility effect, where the house generates no unique heat signature, causing it to completely disappear into the thermal map of the natural environment. The structure literally becomes one with the Earth from a thermal perspective, a ghost on the screen that betrays no sign of the life within. Ultimately, the genius of this low-tech engineering lies in its profound understanding and utilization of natural physics to create a home that is both sustainable and incredibly effective. By cleverly employing time lag instead of merely relying on simple insulation, these ancient builders crafted dwellings that actively heat themselves at night and cool themselves by day. They achieved a level of year-round comfort and energy efficiency that modern architecture often struggles to replicate, even with our most advanced technologies. So while we rely on high-tech sensors and electricity, they relied on physics and patience to stay invisible and comfortable.